Turbo Velo, Tuesday Night Crit, race 2 of 4, Series 5. We did okay in the last series, and some of the favorites from that race are not here today. Because I was in the top 10, I'm part of the call-ups, so I'm on the front row of the race. It's not a terrifically built big field today, but some hitters, of course, in the Masters race, and we'll describe what happens here. Now, first off, it's very hot today. 102 degrees on my Garmin. When I was looking up the forecast earlier in the day or the day before, it said a high of 104 about this time, and a pretty strong wind. Maybe like 13 miles per hour is what I saw in the forecast, so I think it easily could have been 10 miles per hour coming from approximately the south, which would make this pretty much a headwind at this point. Right here I'm behind my teammate Adam, who of course I've got to mention, 5-time national champion. So I'm on his wheel right now, and we're not going too hard. By the way, my power meter battery is dead, and I didn't replace it before the race, so I apologize. No power data. It's kind of like one of those things you're at the start line, you're like, oh no, I don't have any power data. I might as well not even do the race. But of course, in my case, it is important sometimes to look down and see what's going on there, especially if I'm on the front pulling. And I want to know how much power I'm doing and how much power I should be doing, and looking at the MPA data during the race can be useful at times as well. So it's a little bit of a hindrance to not have that power meter data. All right, so this is a race that really didn't go all that well. So that we're going to try to analyze what didn't go well for us. Now Adam pulls off. I'm on the front. One of the rules is don't pull on the front unless there's a reason to pull on the front. And I really don't have much of a reason to pull on the front, so I don't really know what I'm doing up here, even though I'm not going particularly hard. The wind is coming from the right to the left, so I'm kind of, like I have space for a few riders behind me to catch a draft. I didn't completely gutter everyone right there, and here we head up with a tailwind. So sometimes people like to attack out of the tailwind. Breen and sort of like the traditional, really heavy hitters of this race, of the Masters race, not in this race today. There's my teammate Ryan in the red leaders jersey. He got third place in last week's race, so because he is the highest in the points, who is here for today's race, he's in the leaders jersey. Here I am in the draft, and guys are moving up here. So let's take a look and see what happens for us in the race. And this is a pretty sedate beginning to the race. Last week, there was an attack right from the gun, and that was the winning attack. Today, the guy who initiated that attack is not in the group. He got second place. That's Chad of Cadence. He's not in the group this race, so he wasn't there to initiate that kind of attack. I'm not saying he would have if he was here, but that is something he has done before as well. People hugging together. You get a little bit more draft here if you're on the right side compared to the left side. There on the left in the pink bike on Pegasus is Surfer Nick. And you may recall I put a video earlier in the season. So here we see teammate Adam putting in an attack, and so a bunch of guys go here, and I am just like slotting in the back here, getting on. Maybe will I get on Surfer Nick's wheel here? So that's kind of like the first opening little attack of the race. I go past McCracken here. I actually don't go past. I get on his wheel here, and Surfer Nick and my teammate Ryan up ahead. And this is kind of like oh yeah, they're going to come back together. Well, are they? This is not good right this moment. We're getting gapped big time. There's the OKC Velo rider that just went past, and theoretically I could have tried to hop on his wheel. There's a real sense like we might be in danger right now. Like we might this is it. Everyone's who left behind might be dropped. Again, I could have jumped on Jason's wheel there. I guess I'm hoping that McCracken will take me up to the front, and then I'm starting to lose a little confidence that he's going to make it. So I go into the wind, put in a little bit of power, and here we are on the right side. So that's in the gutter, and I'm not catching any kind of draft as I move up in the gutter. And actually, McCracken, he's somebody that played a big role in one of my wins in the B race years ago. And so, not really like, kind of like, when McCracken came, he was kind of like a rival, at least in that era. Like, yeah, I think he won the Cat 3 state crit one year, or came close to it or something. So, he's a talented rider, but hadn't seen much of him this season, so I don't know if he's in shape right now. I was mentioning Surfer Nick, a couple of riders ahead of me on the pink bike on the left. He's definitely a favorite. He was involved in the A-race crash where I went over the bars. He crossed wheels, went down, and I couldn't avoid him, and ran over his shins basically, and did my own Superman flying through the air kind of deal. At a certain point here, I have a teammate off the front. Yes, I do. I see him up there on the left. And that's Jorge, who is off the front, but not very far off the front, and he's solo. So there's probably some suspicion here of the peloton, of the group, of the field, that so far this is not a dangerous move. Like, he's probably not going to be able to solo all the way to the finish, and the group is controlling the distance to him. Again, guys kind of moving over to the left because the shelter from the wind is to the left. However, maybe I can get a little bit of a draft if I get on OKC Velo's wheel. This gentleman, his name is Chad. And I didn't know Chad. Don't know if he's good or bad, but I heard him talking to Patrick Breen before the race and seemed to know Patrick Breen pretty well, or at least be acquainted with each other. And he talked about possibly using the Masters race as a warm-up for the A race, so that suggested to me maybe he's strong and we should be watching out for him. I mentioned to my teammate, Andy, that he should watch out for OKC Velo, the rider right here in front of me, number 614. And that's called foreshadowing. Fun, riding in the gutter. Now, my form, I have to admit, is not good, and I would have expected it to have gotten better by now. It is not better. It's, like, probably worse. And I haven't quite completely figured out why I am fat and slow, other than being fat and slow. So up ahead we can see a few riders off the front, and I think my teammate Ryan is with them. We see OKC Velo attack, and I believe the guy in the green shorts, his name's David, and he goes, and one of my teammates, I think that's Andy, jumps on that wheel. So it looks like we have things covered there. Nothing for me to do. I can try to conserve a little bit of energy and still stay back here. But, there's a gap here. Maybe a little bit worrisome. Teammate Adam is going across to cover that gap. I can just stick on wheels here, conserve energy, maybe slot into the left if I can to get a draft as we go through this left-hand turn. And it looks like Grupo Compacto here again. So a few tacks here. How far are we into this ride? About just over 9 minutes. And getting a little bit of a draft being on the left side. Surfer Nick is definitely one that we want to watch out for as far as like one of the favorites to win this race. I don't know why he's called Surfer Nick, but his name is Nick and his nickname is Surfer Nick. He's someone who was like big in the scene when he was younger, and kind of took a lot of time off and recently came back into the local racing scene, and I think he was very successful as a younger racer and he's certainly very strong now. All right. See my teammate up there, Ryan, on the front in the field. I think there's 2 riders up ahead, including, I think Jorge is still off the front, my teammate, with 1 rider in between on reunion. And it's just so brutally hot. You know, it's hard to race at above 100 degrees. It is so hot, especially when you're not in great shape. No power data, but we do have a little bit of heart rate data to look at. See Surfer Nick moving up. You know, he's doesn't want to be back with me. He can't respond to anything if he's back with me. So we're going to get pretty close to here where, you know, something's going to happen. Something kind of important and definitive, and going into the headwind. So I thought I was a little bit of a risk of getting slotted off there with that other rider moving on to this wheel, and I didn't want that to happen, so I kind of took the other route, but maybe that took a little bit more energy. Adam just did a triathlon this past weekend, so he was telling me his legs weren't great, and we see, looks like an attack going on ahead. You can't really see it in the camera here, but I saw OKC Velo, Chad, take off. And the rest of us here are not taking off. Let's take a look on the turn here and see what's going on up ahead. So we see 1 rider on the front, another rider just behind chasing, and additional riders going fast there, looking like gaps are starting to open up ahead. So just like I kind of don't know what's going on here as I'm watching, maybe maybe I didn't know exactly what was going on during the race either, which is not good. I see my teammate Andy there patrolling near the front. And so sort of like the overall thing here is that we had a teammate, Jorge, off the front by a little bit. So I saw, that's where Surfer Nick started to move up a little bit, and I thought he was just about to attack, and I wanted to make sure that my teammates were aware of that, me saying up, 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 and sort of like Surfer Nick was like, raises his Valkamon. He's like, hey, I'm just, you know, chill out, I'm just getting close to the front here. But he is on the front, not attacking, but on the front. His teammate, I believe, is up the road. I think Kato is up the road at this point, because I saw him attack earlier in the lap. And I kind of know like the story of what happened, but I'm trying to piece it together as I watch it on the video. So I'm looking for my teammate Ryan. He's the guy in the leader's jersey with the red top here. So we see some guys going, and this is one of those moments where you better be all in, because if you're not, you may be riding by yourself. On my teammate's wheel. Anyway, since I can't properly describe the action as it's happening, at some point my teammate Ryan is in the brake, or bridges up to the brake, and the brake is composed of Kato on Pegasus and OKC Velo, Chad, the guy I was saying, you know, foreshadowing, watch out. So that was my teammate Ryan, who attacks right now, and we see Brent attacking, chasing after Ryan, and I believe that's the break up ahead. You can see 4 riders there, the 2 riders chasing, and that's a breakaway that has a little bit of time up ahead. So Cadence is represented up there with Brent chasing after Ryan. So that's good, right? We're probably going to get in the breakaway with Ryan making the connection. Looks like in just a moment. So he just went through the chicane, and it looks like they're together. So right, we're okay. Now this race did not really go that well. So there's Jorge on the right in the red helmet, blue and yellow kit. He was in a solo break for quite a while. He's been caught now. I guess that's not Brent. Yeah, sorry. The guy chasing Ryan on Cadence was not Brent. That's Brent right ahead of me, two riders ahead of me. That was McCracken, who was chasing and got onto Ryan's wheel. There's a teammate Andy on the right, so he's not in the move. It would have been good if he was in the move, but for whatever reason, he's not in the move. But we're okay. We got a rider in the move, independent rider in the black chasing Nick, marking this. Now Nick has a teammate up the road in Cato, so he's not motivated to bridge to the break, but he is protecting the break by going after that. And a gap here in the gutter, not getting any help here. Gap opening up behind this rider here, and I gotta put in a little dig here myself. Probably a little bit of a late response there. Rider in black sitting up, he put in a strong dig. It looks like the batteries are wearing out a little bit. And so there's three of us here. Now here's the problem. Remember Ryan that was in the break? Well, he's not in the break anymore. That's him right there. And this is not good for us because this means that we're not in the break. None of us are in the break. And the break is just making the turn here to the left. And these are chasers here that have sat up and we're catching up to them. And Ryan tells me at this point, like, keep going. Like, we need to get up to the four-man break ahead. So I thought, let's go a little bit hard because maybe we'll gap these guys that are resting on the front here that we just passed. And I look back and there's nobody on my wheel, and Ryan's kind of like, hey, you're supposed to be pulling us, not attacking. And I wish I had the power data, because the power data would probably show low power, but I am not feeling much energy here. My heart rate's over 160. That is quite a bit of exhaustion for me. There's not a lot of leeway there for a lot more effort. So at this point, we have a break of 4 up the road. Teammate Ryan that was in the break, somehow in the process of all those attacks, got dropped from the break. And now we're recovering and kind of like, okay, what do we do now? We need to chase this break down. Now, Surfer Nick here, he has Kato in the break. Another person in the break is the OKC Velo rider, so he's independent solo. The guy who said he's use Masters race for warm-up for the A. And we have the guy in the white and green kit who's also independent. I believe his name is David. He is in the break ahead, and I'm not sure who the other person is. McCracken is in the break on Cadence. So those 4 guys are in the break, and it is our job to chase down this break. I did a little bit of work, just like 2/3 of a lap ago, catching up to the group that was just ahead and then going off the front for no reason, just briefly for a few seconds. And now we're the guys who missed the break. We're the team that missed the break. We think of ourselves as one of the strong teams of this particular Masters race. This is not good that we're not in the break. So one lesson here is that guys that you don't know and you really don't know their strengths can really change the dynamic of a race. This OKC Velo fellow, Chad, really changed the dynamics of the race. So here I am trying to go to the front, and Andy's trying to get off the front, and I have to swerve out of the way. And this time I'm not gapping anyone. I am just trying to put in some effort here to try to chase the break. And I'm not doing this for myself. I am completely doing this for my teammates here. And so it seems like they're not that far ahead, but gosh, that is really hard. That's Nagi, teammate Nagi on the right there. I believe he is dropped, so he's at least a lap down. And my job here is to put in some work. So I get on the left side where I'm not guttering the group, at least I'm not guttering a few people. And I'm getting over to the right again, not guttering, because I want to motivate people to get rest and to do some work. So at this point, as far as our team, we have 3 guys here in the break. Andy First wheel, Ryan, third wheel, and a bunch of guys that are not motivated to work in the break. So Cadence doesn't want to work. They have a teammate up ahead, and of course I mentioned Surfer Nick as a person up ahead. Jason Bradbury on Reunion, who is currently fourth wheel, he does not have someone up in the break. So they're just up there, but there's only one team chasing, and that's us. And can we do a good job of working together here to pull this back? You can see Surfer Nick lets a little gap open where Ryan is chasing, and they close this down, but it's not smooth. And what do they say? You know, like being smooth is faster than not being smooth, of accelerating, decelerating. Wasn't expecting that water, but it surprised me, but it felt good. I'll take it. And brutally hot. I had an ice sock. By the way, a couple of people recently have told me they watched the videos and they like them that I saw at the race, and always appreciate that feedback, because sometimes I wonder if I should even bother doing these. I'm not getting paid or anything for this, or establishing a brand or getting sponsorships. That's not the goal. It's just, you know, for fun, to think about race tactics and what happened and such. So again, you know, we're broken up here. We're not having a cohesive chase. Big gaps here. Surfer Nick closing down that gap. Andy's one of our most dangerous riders. You can see I haven't really done much work for the chase because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to recover a little bit. I wish I was stronger. I wish I was better. Just don't have good form. Maybe a combination of getting COVID earlier in the spring. I can make a bunch of excuses. A couple long vacations that didn't get a lot of exercise. Got a summer cold that kind of sapped me, and then the heat, for whatever reason, I've just not responded well to. So again, you know, we're broken up here. We're not chasing together, and Ryan's paced me back up to the group, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, at some point here, I'm going to have to put in some more effort to try to chase this break. We're not closing it down, and everyone on the front here is absolutely doing no chasing. Somebody better go up to the front and do some work, or we're never going to do it. I know at one point, Ryan kind of chewed out Jason for a minute there, that he was disrupting the chase, and it's in Jason's interest for us to chase down the break, theoretically. So we see the break up ahead. Looks like they've actually, you know, gone further ahead. Now, I did talk to both Chad and Cato after the race. Cato told me that OKC Velo Chad really was the engine in the break, and very strong rider. So keeping that in mind for future reference here in the series. But it seems like a really cool guy. You know, it was really cool when I talked to him. And we'll talk a little bit more about him in a minute. So I'm on the front now, trying to do some work. I wish I had a little bit of power data here. So 27 miles an hour, I'm not going terribly slow. I have no 26 fading. 2 laps to go. So I don't have a lot left, but I'm trying to empty the tank for Ryan and Andy, in desperate hopes that we can get on the podium. Now, however, of course, we're pulling everyone else, and they're all resting. So even if we do get up to the break, there's certainly a great chance that Surfer Nick and Brent will outpace us and beat us. And so we're outfoxed right now. We're definitely outfoxed, because we have to use all our energy to chase this break. And I am just absolutely fading here. Getting 166 on my, I think like 170, maybe my like physiologic max heart rate. That's it. I'm cooked. And that was my last effort. I think there's Ryan talking to Jason, but it doesn't really look like, you know, I'm just looking at that group. It doesn't look like there's much impetus in that group, you know, despite my measly little pull there. So let me tell you about the results then. So we did not end up catching the break. Cato of Pegasus won, and I don't know exactly like what the scenario was in terms of attacking and so forth. I did talk to Chad of OKC Velo briefly after the race. He parked next to me, and I said, "Oh, I heard that you really drove the braking area strong." I was congratulating him. He goes, "Yeah, you know." He said, "I felt like I probably could have won the race, but I kind of, you know, didn't want to interfere with messing up your guys' series, so I kind of just, you know." So I got the impression that he actually didn't want to win. I mean, just shows he's a super nice, thoughtful guy. I don't want to take any credit away from Kato, because Kato, that's a wonderful win. And Kato's like this. Kato is a complete team player for his team, and often does dirty work for his team. So to see him on the podium is wonderful, because you know, sort of like, you know, like the offensive lineman getting the kudos instead of the quarterback. So that's great. Third place was David in that green bottom and white top. Not affiliated with solo, you know, no other teammates. And then McCracken got fourth on cadence, and a very good result for him. I don't know if he's been training and riding all that much, so, you know, outfoxed us. Now Jason in reunion, he got fifth place, so somehow in the aspect of us chasing and trying to bridge back to the breakaway, he managed to get fifth place and beat all of us, and teammate Andy got fifth place. So this was a pretty poor result for us. I talked to Ryan after the ride, and, you know, Ryan's straight shooter. He said, you know, 90% of our poor result was on me, him, Ryan, because he got to the break but got dropped from the break. And of course that's really bad for tactics when you do that, because that means perhaps someone else that could have been in the break and been successful, which wouldn't have been me because I'm not fit enough. And but, you know, that's a catastrophe is for most teams in that situation. And our attempts, we should have tried harder and sooner to bring back the break, but OKC Velocato, those guys, McCracken, David, very strong. We could not bring it back. So it's, you know it's good to get your to get bashed in, to lose, to see failure, because you learn from it. And hopefully we'll have taken lessons from this, and we'll apply them here to the near future, and we'll do a little bit better. Hopefully my form will turn around at some point, but I guess I just haven't put enough work to make it happen. But that's another lesson for me as well. So appreciate you staying for the ride here, and I'll catch you next time.